Welcome back, everyone. Before we dive in, make sure you drop your thoughts and the lessons you took from this story in the comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe. Let's get into it. I was 8 months pregnant when my husband slapped me and told me to leave. "Get out of my house tonight," he said. I walked out with a single duffel bag. When I discovered his secret family, I sent one text that collapsed both his marriages and put him in jail. My ex-husband Calvin and I were supposed to be the happy ending. We met in our mid-20s at a friend's backyard barbecue in Richmond, Virginia. He was not the loudest voice in the crowd, but he had a quiet assurance and a way of listening that made you feel singular and seen. His eyes were kind. That is what I remember most. I thought, this man has kind eyes. For years, that gentleness felt like the foundation of my world. We built our life around a shared dream, a family. Not merely a house and a car, but a home filled with noise and laughter and affection. That mattered to me beyond anything. My father was only a name on my birth certificate and a few faded photographs my mother kept in a shoebox. He was never there. I grew up with an absence where a father should have been, and I watched that same ache hollow out my older sister Tanya, who married her high school boyfriend. He treated her like a fixture he occasionally turned toward. Their dinners were so quiet it felt like I could hear dust settling. I promised myself my life would defy that silence. My family would be different. Calvin knew it all. I told him on an early date, my confession messy and tearful. He did not flinch. He reached across the table, took my hand, and held it. "Adrian," he said, his voice steady and sincere, "that will never be us. I will never be that man. I promise." For 5 years, he kept that promise. He was a devoted husband. We bought a small 2-bedroom house in Richmond with the inheritance my grandmother left me, a gift I had kept in my name before we married. We painted the walls a warm yellow, planted tomatoes and marigolds in the backyard, and hosted game nights for friends. Every decision felt like a chorus of we. Every plan felt like us. The plan to have a baby was the largest and the most tender. It did not come easily. For 2 years our lives revolved around ovulation trackers and temperature charts. Each month was a frantic rise of hope followed by a heavy, private disappointment. Once I was 2 days late, and we let ourselves dream. We argued playfully over names and whether to paint the spare room blue or pink. The morning hope ended. I cried in bed while Calvin held me and murmured, "We will get there. We will get there." We started seeing doctors and ran numbers. My work as a medical receptionist was steady but not extravagant, and Calvin, a project manager often chasing the next contract, was always juggling deadlines. We were getting by. The stress felt like it was binding us closer. He was steady, or so I thought. Then on a Tuesday morning in April, I stood in our blue-tiled bathroom staring at a plastic stick from the dollar store. 2 faint lines. 2 perfect lines. I stepped into the kitchen speechless and held it up. Calvin's face opened into the most beautiful smile I had ever seen. He let out a whoop, lifted me, and spun me until I was dizzy. "We did it, Adrian. We did it." It was pure joy, suspended and luminous. Looking back, it feels like another lifetime, as if I am remembering a film of someone else's life. The first weeks of the pregnancy were everything I had dreamed. The world looked brighter. Morning sickness knocked me down, but I welcomed it because it felt like proof that my body was doing what it should. Calvin was attentive, saltines and ginger ale at the bedside, warm hands on my back, shameless compliments when I felt like a disaster. Then quietly the temperature changed. It began around week 4. One night I woke ravenous for a specific brand of dill pickles and raspberry sorbet. It felt urgent and ridiculous. I nudged him. "Calvin, I am so sorry to wake you, but I would give anything for pickles and raspberry sorbet." He rolled over, his back to me. "Can it wait until morning? I have an early meeting." The chill that passed through me was small but sharp. He had happily run out at midnight for tacos a week earlier. I whispered, "Okay." I lay awake feeling something sour, more than nausea. A few days later, I booked our first ultrasound at 8 weeks. I called him giddy. "Next Friday at 2. We will see our baby's heartbeat." He paused. "That is great. I am in the middle of something. Just let me know how it goes. I have a big deadline. I probably cannot make it." The words struck too hard. "You cannot make the first ultrasound? Calvin, this is our first baby. It is just a picture on a screen," he said. "There will be plenty of others. I need to impress my boss if I want that promotion. That is for us. For the baby." The logic twisted until I felt dizzy. He was using the baby to excuse not seeing the baby. That evening I called my best friend Keisha. Am I being irrational? He is just stressed. Keisha was cautious. He is always stressed. Just watch it. I pretended not to hear the warning under her voice. The late nights at the office became routine. He would come home after I fell asleep, smelling faintly of beer and a cologne I did not recognize. His answers grew clipped. Fine. Busy. Tiring. The color drained from our conversations until all I could see were outlines. The emotional distance became physical. It built with small omissions, the hand he stopped reaching for, the quick murmur replacing a kiss at the door. Soon he did not touch me at all. I tried to bridge the gap. One evening, the baby was fluttering and I wanted to share it. He stood at the sink, staring through the window. I wrapped my arms around his waist and rested my head on his back. She is having a dance party, I whispered. He flinched, just a rigid shiver, but it felt like the floor shifted. What are you doing? He snapped, shrugging me off. Tears burned. I wanted a hug. The baby is kicking. I need space, he said, his voice cold. You are always so needy. It is suffocating. I stood in the kitchen, hands cradling the belly he would not acknowledge. I cooked his favorite steak and potatoes, lit a candle, and waited. He did not come home. At 10 o'clock, I put the food away and ate cereal alone at a table set for two. That night, he came in near midnight, saw me awake, said nothing, took a pillow and blanket, and walked to the couch. The click of the bedroom door closing behind him was louder than any shouting. I stared at the empty space beside me and felt the bed turn cold. Then came the fights, about nothing and always my fault. I asked him to take out the trash, and he accused me of not appreciating how hard he worked. I mentioned a baby name, and he accused me of needing to control everything. He became a stranger, harsh and volatile, living in my house. I stopped trying to talk. I moved through rooms like a ghost. The cruel words multiplied. Useless. Lazy. A burden. My changing body became ammunition. One morning he saw the new stretch marks on my hips and paused in the doorway with open disdain. You have really let yourself go, he muttered, then walked away. I spent the day in a baggy sweater, ashamed. He ignored the fact that I worked full-time, was growing a human being, and was doing every chore while exhausted. He would walk past the sink full of dishes and say, "This place is a mess. What do you do all day?" The first physical shove came after an argument about coffee, of all things. I tried to walk away, and he blocked the doorway. Do not walk away from me. I stepped to the side, and he shoved my shoulder. I stumbled, one hand flying to my belly. I was not physically hurt, but the shock left me breathless. A week later, on a Tuesday, he slapped me for forgetting to mail a package for his job. The sound cracked the air. The sting was hot and humiliating. I looked at him, searching for the man I had married. There was nothing, no regret, only cold anger. Look what you made me do, he said. I went to the bathroom and locked the door. In the mirror, a red handprint bloomed across my cheek. The woman staring back looked like a stranger, wide-eyed, stunned, and silent. I cried, not for the pain, but because I recognized the death of my marriage. After that, fear became the atmosphere of our house. He turned to isolation as strategy. He grabbed my phone and scrolled. Who is this? What were you discussing with your sister? Accusations bled into every conversation. I stopped telling my family the truth. When Tanya called, I covered with bright lies. Everything is great. Just tired. Calvin is working so hard. He listened from the next room. When my mother stopped by unannounced with groceries and a bundle of baby clothes she had knit, I performed smiles and small talk. While his fingers pressed my arm, silent instructions to keep quiet. He told me never to let her show up again. He made me quit the prenatal yoga class I loved, dismissing it as a waste of money and nonsense. He refused to attend even one appointment. In waiting rooms full of couples, I sat alone, clutching ultrasound printouts with shaking hands. By 8 months, I felt like a vessel, no longer a person. The end came on a Wednesday night. He called me a fat, useless cow and said he was sick of looking at me. I folded my arms around my belly. Then he went quiet and looked at me with a calm I will never forget. I want you out, he said. Tonight. I stared. It is 10 o'clock. I am 8 months pregnant. Where am I supposed to go? I do not care, he said. Go to your mother's. Go to a shelter. Just get out. He returned with one of my old gym duffel bags and tossed it at my feet. Pack. 1 hour. Something cleared inside me. I did not cry or beg. I packed in the half-finished nursery. Tiny onesies, the stuffed lamb Tanya gave me, the few clothes that still fit, the baby names book. Each item felt like a small funeral for the life I had imagined. When I walked past him toward the door, he did not look up from his phone. "If you try to contact me, I will file for a restraining order," he said. "Do not call. Do not text. We are finished." I drove away and pulled over blocks later because the tears blinded me. I sobbed until the emptiness was hollow and echoing. The last month of pregnancy passed in a blur of logistics and shame. I moved into my mother's spare room, still crowded with my high school trophies and curling posters. At 29, pregnant and separated, I was back in my childhood bed. My mother never once said, "I told you so." Her eyes were fierce with protective anger. Tanya and Keisha became a small army. They assembled the crib in the corner, bought diapers and wipes, and sat with me when I was too numb to speak. Their anger warmed me. It felt like a blanket thrown over a shivering body. Labor began on a rainy Tuesday morning. 22 hours later, at 10:42 p.m., my daughter arrived, tiny, perfect, and loud with life. They placed her on my chest, and the world fell silent. All the pain and betrayal vanished in a moment of awe. I named her Hope. That was what she was. A few days after we came home, I sat on the couch while Hope slept on my chest. I scrolled through social media, mind adrift, until a photo stopped me. Calvin stood in what looked like a hospital room, holding a baby swaddled in pink. My baby. His mother Evelyn and his brother Reginald stood beaming beside him. The caption said, "Welcome to the world, my beautiful daughter. So proud of my amazing wife for bringing this perfect angel into our lives. We are so in love." I read it 3 times. My amazing wife. He had staged that while I was in a hospital bed without him. I was not tagged. To the world, I did not exist. The comments piled up with congratulations from his relatives, friends, and people I knew. A rage hotter than grief rose in me. He had not merely abandoned me. He had erased me. Holding my sleeping daughter, I promised her he would not get away with it. The next morning, I took action. I called my insurance provider to add Hope to my policy. Then I called a lawyer. I wanted a fighter. I found Ms. Parker, a family law attorney in Richmond known for being brilliant and relentless. I sat in her office with Hope asleep in her carrier and told her everything. From the beginning to the slap to the night I was expelled from my own house. I showed her the post. Through it all, I did not cry. My voice found a steadiness I had not felt in months. Ms. Parker listened, her pen poised, and when I finished she said, "First, you are strong. Second, we are going to make him regret laying hands on you." Ms. Parker filed for an emergency hearing. She froze the joint accounts so he could not drain our savings. The house, titled to me before the marriage, gave us leverage. She filed to have him formally removed. Every email from her felt like a reclaimed piece of my life. Keisha offered to help with the digital trail. "He is not at his mother's," she said after a day of quiet digging. "A neighbor of my aunt says Evelyn's house is empty." Keisha found a woman named Denise whose photos Calvin had recently liked again and again. "She is listed as a co-worker," Keisha said. The puzzle pieces began to collect, but the picture was worse than I imagined. After the legal papers landed, my phone lit up with calls from Calvin. I let everyone go to voicemail. Later, Tanya sat beside me as we listened on speaker like investigators. The first message was angry. "What is this? My accounts are frozen. You cannot do this. Call me." The second tried to bargain. "There has been a misunderstanding. This is all my mother's fault. Please let me explain." The third was a performance of grief, sobs, and gasps. "I made a terrible mistake. I am at a friend's. I am lost without you. I miss our daughter. Please let me come home. We can fix this. We can be a family." Tanya rolled her eyes. He rehearsed that. I felt nothing but a cool emptiness. He was not sorry. He was losing control. Yet an idea formed. He wanted to talk. I wanted answers. When he called again, I picked up. He sounded stunned to hear my voice. "Adrian, you want to talk?" "We will talk," I said. He rushed to offer to come over. "No. Tomorrow noon, Bird Park." "Come alone." "Yes," he said quickly. "Anything. You will understand. It is not what you think." I hung up. Tanya looked concerned. "You are not taking him back." "Never," I said. "I want the truth." I called Keisha. "I need you to be invisible tomorrow." Bird Park was crisp in the early fall. Leaves were turning red and gold. I chose a table under a wide oak, away from the playground. Keisha sat 100 feet away on a bench, bundled in a scarf, a book in her lap and her phone camera aimed in our direction. Calvin arrived late, unshaven in a wrinkled shirt, eyes red-rimmed as though he had practiced looking wrecked. He sat down across from me like a child about to be scolded. "Thank you for meeting me," he said. "I am here for answers," I replied. He launched into a layered, tragic story. He said it was all Evelyn's fault. He painted his mother as a woman broken decades ago when his father abandoned the family, a wound that turned her against women. He said my pregnancy triggered her trauma, and she convinced him I would betray him. He said he suffered a breakdown under her manipulation and the pressure at work. The slap, the shove, the eviction, he called them the product of her whispered poison. Even the social media post, he said, was her idea so he could claim his child before I could take her away. He cried. He said he loved me. He begged to come home, promised therapy, a college fund, a future. His story was intricate enough to masquerade as truth. But it was also full of holes. I listened, my face still, and felt a deep certainty that the truth was uglier. I left the park feeling like my head was full of static. It was easier to imagine a villainous mother pulling strings than to accept the simple horror that the man I loved was the architect of this devastation. That night I watched Hope sleep, then opened my laptop and scrolled through old photos. The beach trip, our wedding, his arm tight around me, his smile unguarded. Could that man vanish so completely? Keisha came by the next morning with coffee and a steady voice. We watched the video she recorded from the bench. "Look," she said, pausing it. "He avoids your eyes when he mentions his mother. It is a script." She was right. Still, a splinter of doubt lodged under my skin. Why this elaborate lie? I could not move forward without the truth. There was one other person who saw the inside of the story. His brother, Reginald. I dreaded calling. Would he hang up? Would he repeat Calvin's lies? I hovered over his contact for 10 minutes before pressing call. He answered on the third ring. "Hello, Reginald, it is Adrian." Silence stretched, heavy with knowledge. "Is everything okay?" "No. I need to ask you something." I told him the story Calvin told me about Evelyn. Reginald's sigh was long and tired, the sound of someone who had carried a heavy secret for too long. He blamed it all on Mom? "Yes," I said. "Is any of it true?" Another pause. "Adrian," he said finally, voice steady, "what Calvin told you is a lie. My mother is not perfect. She enabled him and looked away when she should not have. But she is not the monster he described. The truth is worse. He lied to you about everything. He is married. He has another family." The world tilted. "What?" "He married Denise 6 years ago, before he even met you. They live in Fredericksburg, about an hour away. They have 2 children, a boy around 5 and a little girl who just turned 3. I felt the room spin and gripped the back of a chair. Fredericksburg. The late nights, the trips, the unnamed perfume. Denise, the woman from Keisha's search. His co-worker was his wife. I was not a wife. I was an affair wrapped in vows. How did this happen? I asked. Reginald sounded ashamed for a sin that was not his. He told our parents he and Denise were separated and that the divorce was almost final. He kept repeating it. They wanted to believe him. We all wanted to believe him. I should have told you. I was a coward. The pieces clicked into place. My pregnancy had not created the monster. It had complicated his logistics. A baby tethered him to his lie. He needed to sever me completely. Reginald sent everything he had. Photos of Calvin at a child's birthday party in a backyard, Calvin beside a Christmas tree with his arm around Denise, and an email thread where Reginald confronted him and Calvin admitted the double life. It was a trove of proof and a roadmap to his ruin. The next morning I sat in Ms. Parker's office and slid my laptop across the desk. She scrolled, her mouth flattening. When she looked up, her professionalism was edged with fury. "This is not merely a divorce," she said. "This is a fraudulent marriage. We will seek an annulment. And bigamy is a crime in this state. We will press charges." The thought of accountability steadied me. This was not revenge. It was justice, a line drawn so he would never do this to another woman. "Do everything," I said. Ms. Parker nodded. That afternoon I sent Calvin one message. "I know about Denise in Fredericksburg." The calls exploded immediately, followed by texts laced with names I will not repeat and threats that he must have known I would record. The sobbing penitent from the park was gone. The cornered animal remained. I saved screenshots and forwarded them to Ms. Parker. He was shoveling his own grave, and I handed her every spadeful. The legal process was bruising but swift. The court annulled the marriage. I was granted full legal and physical custody of Hope, and a permanent restraining order kept him away. Because the case opened his finances like a window in bright light, the child support order for Hope was substantial and visible to both households he had pretended to keep. The district attorney brought a bigamy charge. Denise left him. His 2 lives imploded in the space between court dates. Some days, the ache flares without warning, the phantom pain of trusting the wrong person. Then Hope laughs or lurches into another unsteady step, and I feel only the sharpened, protective love that replaced whatever I lost. He tried to turn me into a secret, a footnote in his narrative. He failed. I am not a secret. I am a mother. I am a survivor. He tried to erase me. In the end, my daughter and I are the only truth that remains, and we are writing our own story, day by unborrowed day. If you enjoyed this story, please like, comment, and share this video with your friends. Subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a powerful story drop.